And action.
The Star Wars reported. Sorry?
The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Got it. Or you are watching.
Yeah. Action. The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Right. The Star Wars Reporter podcast you are watching. Where's my $50?
Hey,
welcome to Star Wars Reporter Podcast, episode 94. We are your hairy hosts, although Adam got a haircut, so everyone make fun of him in the comments.
He's got good beard, though. Come on.
He still has the facial hair. So that's
yeah, still got it. I got to have the hair somewhere, right?
I know. So let's introduce him let's get a closer look at his new professor haircut.
Ooh.
Welcome, Darth Lobo. God,
all set for the faculty picks. Good to be back.
And of course, we have Trooper Todd.
Hello there. Nice to be here. My hair is not quite as nice as Adam's, so that's why I'm wearing a chapeau.
And of course, there's me, Wookie Steve, because I have the greatest facial hair ever. Don't ask my wife. She disagrees. But welcome,
I just
everyone.
want to do a shout out for that little Yoda puppet thing in the beginning. That's a
yes.
That puppet's designed by and performed by a guy I know named Max Dowie here in our town, and he's an amazing puppet creator. And obviously, you can see his skill at doing puppetry. It's a lot of fun to work with him. So thanks, Max.
That was amazing.
Yes, thank you, Max. I've watched that so many times.
Max.
I think it's funny, and I think one of the funniest parts that I find is your direction to him of Star Wars Reporter, because it totally reminds me of that time I did that recording for you of the Stormtrooper with your hair getting cut thing, and we were talking through here because we're on different sides of the country, and it's that whole thing, and I know what Yoda's going through.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, really, the Star Wars Reporter podcast is a bit of a mouthful. And I was at a Comic-Con in Victoria. It's called the Capital City Comic-Con this past week, and I brought my camera, and I'll have a lot more stuff that we can use on our show coming up, and trying to get different people in cosplay saying you're watching the Star Wars Reporter podcast was quite challenging. And so you'll have some other things we'll show on future episodes for you guys.
Well, yeah,
Love
I'm
it.
really looking forward to that.
The Yoda was fantastic. That was awesome. Great work.
He didn't want to do it the actual Yoda. There's a if you on YouTube there's a group that does lip dubbing, and there's a song where Yoda's doing a song about seagulls, and that's how he parodied that Yoda after that parody. So if you haven't seen it, you go search up Yoda seagulls. You'll see this little lip dub, because it basically takes clips from the movie and they change the words to the mouthing, and it fits perfectly. And it's about seagulls. It's hilarious. That's where he patterned that Yoda from. That Yoda's kind of not very smart, so it worked really well. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I
think I remember that actually. Was it Bad Lip Dubs or something? Bad Lip
Yeah,
Reading?
that's what. Yeah, I think it's called that. Yeah, it's really cool. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yes, definitely.
So big news this week, Steve. That dropped.
Lots of stuff going on. We're going to get to our discussion on the episodes 1 to 3 of Andor. But there was some news that came up. Todd had shared it with us in the offline chat, and let me just pull it up here.
Okay.
I thought we can get into this because it's kind of the pattern. I think there's a reason why they're doing this.
There it is. James Earl Jones signs off. Basically, he's retiring. He is 91 years old, of course, and so he's put his time in. Who knows? Maybe there's health reasons, but it was him stepping down. They didn't force him out. And the interesting thing, because technology is getting so good, they're going to analyze all his voice work he's done for Darth Vader, and they're going to create this artificial voice recreation for future roles for Darth Vader. It'll all be done by AI technology. So that's been talked lots about in the film world in the last couple years, and apparently it's getting quite sophisticated. And so any future projects that involve Darth Vader will not be James Earl Jones, and they're not going to replace him with another actor. It's going to be a computer AI that's going to make the voice.
Isn't
Well,
that what
so-
they did on the Kenobi series? Didn't they already start? So they were dabbling in that. My understanding is they dabbled
That was-
in that, and the same thing with Mark Hamill. We talked about with
Mark Hamill, they
Mandalorian and
did
Book
that
of
with
Boba.
him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's the same thing, and I think just came to the point in time where James is getting older, right? So I guess so. It's made it's
What an age we live in.
I know, right? Isn't that it's crazy with deep fake that they're doing? Making
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker young on the actor. Now they're doing voices, like and CGI technology is getting so good. Pretty soon you might not need actors. Period. Right? Or
Yeah.
basically, they brought back what's his name in A New Hope? They brought back Princess Leia. It was rough back
Oh,
then.
yeah, yeah.
We're talking a few years ago, but technology now is so much better. They brought back what's his name? the leader. Oh, I'm just blanking out on names right now.
Oh,
The guy, the
Tarkin.
leader. Thank you. Yes,
Yes.
Tarkin, right?
Yeah,
Paris
yeah,
Tarkin,
yeah.
right? So again, and that looked Peter Crusher, right? They brought him back, and he looked really, really good. It doesn't stand up today, but at that time it was fantastic. Today it'd just be
Mhm.
even better with deepfake technology, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, the future's here, right? There's
Good for
nothing
him. I
can really
will
stop you
say,
now.
Well,
I
as
will
morbid
say
as
my
this
hat
sounds,
is
though.
fully
Oh,
off
sorry.
to James Earl Jones. Like he is, to me, he is and will always be the voice of Darth Vader. That's him. Like no matter what else I see him in, I think he was in Conan, the Barbarian, Coming to
Yes.
America. Even
Also doing-
even when I was a kid growing up with The Lion King and Mufasa, and he, of course, he has that powerful voice. But all his iconic roles aside, he will always be forever Darth Vader to me. So thank you, James Earl Jones. You have an amazing voice.
Absolutely, and just what he brought to the character, right? Like you've seen behind the scenes all the time. They're talking about when David Prowse is, he did the voice originally on set. Just didn't have the same effect. So he put this James Earl Jones voice into the character. Wow, right? Fear, intimidation, confidence, you name it. His voice gave
Everything.
that character exactly right. Like it goes along with the breathing, the voice and the breathing together, the look, everything. It's one of those magic things that just worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another example of, at least for Todd and I, getting older when all these people we grew up with are 91 and retiring. And on a morbid take, this is good planning for the future for Disney, right? They did it
100%.
with Mark Hamill, so he signed over likeness and voice and all this other kind of stuff. They're doing that with James Earl Jones's voice. So I don't know if they have Han Solo. I don't think he really cares either way or not. Like I mean Harrison Ford, but if they're going to go through each of these legacy characters to at least own, so they can use it in the future, right? Because we probably wish it, but they're not going to live forever. So neither
Well,
we.
no, exactly, and I'm sure the actors, like I'm pretty sure they're getting a pretty good paycheck from it too,
Oh, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, like
right? Like
you're signing your likeness away on media. You're gonna get a paycheck, and in a weird sense, that's got to be, an interesting thing for the actor too. Like, is this a weird way to achieve some sort of immortality through media? Like the
Mm,
character that you brought to life, whether that be through voice, or mannerisms or whatever, is so iconic that it will live on generations past you.
mhm. Yeah, I mean that is kind of weird. It would be weird though for your kids later to hear, your dad, your grandfather's voice doing like, James Earl Jones as Darth Vader doing a tampon commercial or something. Would it be this? Hey, look, before you say that'll never happen, every time I go to the grocery store, there's Star Wars on bags of fruit. So give me, they're selling Star Wars on fruit. So You never know.
Hey,
The
I'd
future
buy
is
a
unclear.
BB-8 bag of oranges.
I find your lack of absorption
Anything's
disturbing.
possible. Anything's possible,
Yeah.
right? Never say never.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I
But
think I
thank you,
just ruined the
James
show
Earl
with
Jones.
that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My hat goes off to him and everything he's done. And, he defined my childhood, really. Like, to me, Darth Vader is is the greatest cinematic villain of all time. And has a lot to do, he's just providing a voice. But again, providing a voice, as Steve knows, just working with me on one little project, it can be exhausting. You're putting your heart, your soul, you're right. There's a mental grind to deliver, sort of thing. And like, hey,
That's true.
great job.
Yeah.
It wasn't a grind to work with you, Todd. I just thought it was funny because while I was doing it in my head, I was imagining what you were thinking, and it made it more funny for me. So obviously I'm ADD and I wasn't concentrating fully because I was doing this whole. I bet she's thinking this, and it was making me laugh. But
That's meta. You're not thinking about what you're doing. I wonder what Todd's thinking of what I'm doing right now.
because I remember some of it, because we could see each other. Some of it, I'm pretty sure you were like leaning back at one point, and you're like, "Okay, yep, good," and I'm like, "No, it isn't. You have dinner coming up. That's what's going on." But
I don't want to say it was terrible. That's terrible. Do
well,
it again.
I am not part of the actors union, so it's not my fault.
But yeah, Todd, I agree with you 100%. He is an icon. His voice, defined. He was one of the main reasons why Darth Vader was one of my favorite, was my favorite character growing up, and still is my favorite. Right? That's the one toy you always wanted to, was the voice changer, just to get a little closer to that iconic voice. Steve, didn't you just pick up another voice changer here too?
I did. It's up here somewhere.
Oh,
It's one. Actually, both of the
one of those
helmets
two.
work. Yeah, both of the helmets work. I can't. I better not stand up. I'm not wearing pants. So.
But even as a kid, how many kids through their lifetime has tried to imitate that voice? Right?
Oh,
How
all the
many?
time, yeah.
Everyone.
Right?
Everybody's
Everybody's try to do the Darth Vader voice, right?
Yeah.
How many people try to deliver, "No, Luke, I am your father"? I know that's not the right line, but that's what everybody says.
Everyone
But
says.
we've all tried to do that line at some point in time in our lifetime.
Yeah. 100%.
So, sorry, I'm just gonna. I forgot to talk about this. Let me just share the screen here.
Surprises.
Ooh. More than
wheel.
simply Andor on the podcast.
So, we have a couple of friends of the podcast. Jen and Jason both live in the Florida area, and I was actually talking to Jen earlier, asking her how everything was going, and she said they updated the path to be heading more towards them last night. Things should be a little intense here for the next couple of days, and she'll let us know how it's going. So I haven't heard back from Jason yet, but just hope everyone down in Florida and every other place on the Eastern Coast that's going to get nailed by Ian are going to be fine and make it through it. So
yeah,
especially our friends.
Hey.
Yeah. So
what a dick.
So true. Okay, so Andor.
Something got released this week, didn't it? Like Andor?
Something got released. Andor, yes. Did you guys see the inside look at episode 1 to 3?
No,
I
watched episode 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
they released on the Disney Day, right? They released that, didn't they?
Well, this came out. It was 3 days ago.
Oh,
Disney Day. Yeah, it was something. It was they were doing a look behind the scenes of episode 1 to 3.
Oh,
and I thought maybe we could have a little peek at it. It's only 2 minutes long, and then we can kind of get into our discussion.
Nice. Look at your history there, Steve. What's your recommended videos?
You don't want to know.
At the beginning of the story, Kazan is just trying to survive.
Stop right there!
He's not executing a plan. He's just reacting. You started this story the day he made the biggest
This scene
mistake
was
in his
awesome.
life.
Yeah.
So opening scene was amazing.
He's committed this horrible crime. He makes his situation infinitely worse. He's going to be on the run. He's a fugitive.
And Petunia, run.
Word for Cassian Andor. We also have a really compelling origin story from him as a child that really meant something about always being displaced. And to start his anger that early, it's going to be something that he's going to have to work on and learn to manage.
I'm not leaving him here to die.
We understand his orphan personality. It takes him many years in his life to find that sense of there's something for me to fight for, even if it's an idea and not a place.
This very extreme moment in history, the Empire is consolidating its power. Corporate planets are being nationalized. At the same time, the rebellion is just popping up everywhere in all kinds of iterations.
These guys were funny.
You said he wanted to meet me.
The character of Luthen Rail is the glue. He has been very quietly and methodically building up a network in a very secretive way.
He will be behind everything.
Andor, you made it. He's had his eye on this guy as a potential recruit for some nasty business. He goes there to really sniff him out about something that he's going to want him to do.
I'd like you to go with me. How do you know about me?
He happens to arrive on a very, very bad day.
I don't think Cassian understands what's about to happen, who he's dealing with, how important this will be for things to erupt.
He's taken off with Luthen Rail. I mean, they beat a hasty retreat. I think it's pretty safe to say Cassian will have more to do with Luthen as the show goes on.
Duh. He's going to. I think that's a good thing to look at there, Steve. Just it gets little things a little more fresh in my mind from watching all 3 episodes. So
Yeah, for sure. I think that offers like a really good explanation too. So you can kind of see the pieces at work, but like to hear that like big picture of where they envision the series is really cool. I think that jumpstarts a lot of things in my own head.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into it now that we've delayed for the past 17 minutes, and let's really get into it. Normally we just go episode by episode, scene by scene, but it's like 3 episodes, and possibly people here might find the first episode or 2 kind of slow. So why don't we do it in a general, just different things we like. Like, I mean, I had just said when we were watching the video, that opening scene where he's going into that city.
Let's talk about the opening scene for sure. Morlana 1
going into this bar. And the one thing I'll just say right now, it was this opening scene. Doesn't that look awesome?
Yeah, it does. It looks fine.
Cool.
That's one thing. I love the way it looked. It looked, dark,
So
seedy,
cool.
Gross, wet.
Yeah.
Oh, and the BBY-5, that's before Battle of Yavin, right? So 5 years.
Yeah,
before?
I know that made big news on the internet. That's the first time on video that we've seen the numbering system BBY, because that was used by fans a lot, and that was used in some of the Legends and Legacy material. But yeah, apparently that made big waves among fans, as the actual use of BBY.
Well, thanks for explaining. I had no idea what that meant, so thank you. I had no idea. I'm lost. Was lost on that, but I thought it would be explained as it went along. But that's cool.
And I noticed that whenever they would go to a different planet, they would do that, right? So they would. I made a point of taking a screenshot, or like, oh, that's the planet. That's where they are now. They really explained it well, and it was like in Rogue One. That's what they did.
Yeah,
right? They would do that. Where the other series, I mean, we knew it was Tatooine, so. Because it was always Tatooine.
They would say like, I'm going here, and then you'd see them come in, like you'd see Mando coming to the planet or something. But yeah,
I thought it was very helpful, especially for for people that are just tuning in and are like giant nerds of Star Wars, right? that little thing is very, very helpful.
Another thing
I
too
will
is
say I really liked. Sorry, Todd. Go ahead.
no, you go first, Adam. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I really liked that they used BBY. Actually, that really helped with the timelines because in my head I was like, okay, I know this is before Rogue One, and Rogue One like immediately leads into A New Hope, but to see that like battle before Yavin, and the first Death Star exploding in the Battle of Yavin is like the central focal point of the Star Wars timeline, and placing everything either pre-battle of Yavin or post-battle of Yavin. I think that was really good in just placing the series of where we are right now. So 5 years before the battle, we know there's still 5 years to go in terms of the lead up to Rogue One. So that was good for me. I know a lot of fans were griped about like, oh, they wouldn't use that labeling system in the Star Wars universe. And to me, I didn't really have an issue with that because, of course, they wouldn't. Right? That's not for the characters to know. That's for the audience to know.
Audience
That's
to know. Yeah.
It's a narrative point that we use to place things in the timeline. So I loved
But
it.
movies do that all the time, though. 5 years before World War II, or they do it all the time. So I don't know why people would be getting upset about them doing it in Star Wars. Like you're saying, it allows people to know exactly when this is happening compared to the movie franchise, right? Well, another thing I liked about what I was going to say was the fact that, my take on this so far is they really made it so that you didn't have to watch Rogue One to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know the
Totally.
characters, but again, it comes along and introduces. Quite frankly, we found out more about Kaz than we've ever known before already, right? And nothing's really related to. The only thing that's really related to Rogue One is that
Yeah.
date stamp, right? So that's why I like the fact that so they're trying to maybe hook some fans in who haven't watched Rogue One, maybe who knows. But again, I still like that fact that it's starting from ground zero. You didn't have to watch the movie to know what the hell's going on so far.
And with the date thing with the BBY 5, I kind of like that. Fans should actually like that because it's acknowledging this side nerd thing that only the Star Wars nerds would understand, right? Like if you're with a friend who's like, yeah, I'm kind of into sci-fi, sitting beside you watching it, he'd be like, what's BBY 5? And then you could explain it, and you're like cool, and your friend's like, well, you're a dork, but that makes a lot of sense now. So, and then you can have a conversation about that. So I think that's kind of a cool addition for fans.
See, I feel a little disappointed because I'm not nerd enough to know what that was originally. So thank you very much for helping me.
I only started paying attention to this like a few years ago because that's how some people would talk, like all these like BBY 5 or all these different Star Wars dates, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And then I kind of Googled.
Now we do.
Yeah, someone told me about it. Maybe it was Jen or someone in one of these podcasts explained it to us. But
they started off strong though, like from that opening. Okay, introduce where we are. Perfect, awesome. Where we are, when we are, and then we get into the gritty underworld, right? And we've been talking about this for a while now, and we saw a little bit of it in Kenobi, and him going off world, but like this is the nitty gritty. We're in this weird red light district on a planet we've never seen before. That was cool to like just see the actual
they really
underworld
put a lot of really
before.
details into it, right? Because when he was for some reason a lot of my pictures from that scene have disappeared from the side, but when he's walking down around the streets and those bubbles with the people in it, I didn't realize till my second viewing that's like Amsterdam red light district. That's what that is. I thought that was pretty
peep
cool.
Shows.
Yes.
Basically, right?
Yeah. And I wish I would have got a picture of the bar because I had a comparison when he first walked in. Have you guys ever played the Mass Effect games?
No.
I
know of them, but I haven't played them.
There's this place called Cora's Den when you get onto the what's the name of the space station? It's like my favorite game series of all time. I forget what it is, but Cora's Den is kind of like a girly bar. And so in the first and second one, they had this place you can go into. And by the third one, because people complained, they took it out. But you walked in and it was basically, that's what it looked like. And this is what that reminded me of. Even with the hologram girl dancing on the side. But this was in a video game, and you could walk around, it had music, and like you had contacts, there was missions in there and stuff. And I can understand why it was a little racy, because you could actually sit down and pay this one alien dancer to like dance for you. So then I guess parents got a little upset because they weren't.
You were there on mission, say, Steve.
It was missions. There is the ball. This isn't the real picture of the
reason, eh?
It was a really cool game, and it's funny because the head of basically the home base for like this alliance of all the nations was in Vancouver, right on the water. You know where like the hotels are, where the Olympic stuff was.
Yeah,
that's where this thing is in the third game. The character who's retired, they bring out a retired, and they meet him there, and it's Vancouver. The headquarters of the Alliance is in Vancouver because there was Canadian makers, right? So it was very, very cool. But anyways,
cool. So I definitely saw similarities from that picture you showed to what they had. It was a little more darker and grungy in the Star Wars episode of Andor, but definitely. What's one thing I was thinking to myself, going like, man, like as a guy in productions, going like, how much money they built on those sets that they're only using for one episode. It's like, it's insane what they do. But again, I thought it was really cool. I loved how the lighting was coming up from the tables. They had the bottom lights. The bottom lights a little more, when you have scary movies or, creepy movies, you want to have a little, unsettling feeling, you light from below. So it has the shadows coming up. And that's what it had. Like, these people were not good people. These people, this establishment were not nice people. Right. So again, they're setting a mood, setting a tone with the whole entire lighting productions. Right. And that's why I thought was kind of cool. And he was there looking for a sister. Right. He's looking for a sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was kind of, again, I thought that, I love the beginning, how it introduced everything. That I don't know, maybe I was watching on wrong TV. I thought the dialogue was so quiet. And we have dogs and I couldn't understand. So I had to go downstairs to really and watch it back again. But I was having a hard time following what, it was just slow. You know what I'm saying? It was a slow burn, I thought, like, as it was building up. But, I really, after the first episode ended, I was like, oh, well, hopefully hopefully it started picking up, and I thought it really picked up come episode 2. But that was my perception.
That was a really cool detail you said, Todd. That's something I honestly didn't notice in my initial watch. Is like the lighting from the bottom. Like that's a really cool little note that now that you say it, it's like, oh, they did do that, especially those guys who's like the shady guys in the bar, right? Classic. They're up to something. Everything is the lighting, the tone, the interactions, everything. That's a cool detail. But yeah, going into that, I was like, okay, he's here. Okay, we have a little drunk interaction. And then that whole alley fight, I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool sequence. And then of course the fight when Andor just like wanted to get away, but then things happened, and when the guy I forget what they're called, Primors,
like the cops, right?
Yeah,
basically
the
what
cops,
they are,
when he
the
rolled over
police.
and was lifeless, and you could just see the shocked look on both their faces.
Yeah.
I was like, immediately, I was like, oh damn, that is dark. Like I did not expect that. And to see the shock on both their faces, and to the other guard just immediately go into panic mode and be like, oh, you killed him, oh, it was an accident, we didn't do anything, let's turn each,
because he knew what had to happen.
Yeah.
And then you see Andor like working through, the gears are turning, how's he gonna get out of this, and bang, and I was like, whoa, that's
the point blank shot in the face.
Yeah, that's the one thing you wanted, Steve. We wanted to see how you wanted to have this sort of, and then boom, first episode. Oh, I went, oh, Steve's gonna be happy.
I know. How long have I been carrying on about that scene in Rogue One where he kills that informant? And I
there
thought,
you go. Your first episode, you're happy.
Soon as that opened, he's walking down like gritty, great, nice, awesome. Oh, he goes into the cool bar with the cool music. Wow, this is already liking it. And then when he gets confronted by the Primors, and I thought definitely he's going to do something, right? And he did. And when he just blasted that guy in the face, I was like, yep. This is it. This is what we need, right? We don't need, you know what I mean? Like, this is follow what they did in Rogue One. Don't be nice about it.
Yeah,
So
and obviously they're not going to, and that's what that last scene, that confrontation, I thought really saved that first episode. Again, I don't know how you guys felt. I thought it was really slow, and I wasn't too engaged into it. 'Cause again, they're talking about the sister, and who's a sister? They never heard of the sister before because they didn't really start introducing the flashbacks, right? So again, not that it was terrible, it was just really slow. And I thought it was a really good idea that Disney released all 3 episodes. I think that's one way to get people hooked. If you,
Yeah.
I know every episode kind of escalated, right, in tension and stuff like that. But that was a nice way to end the episode. I loved how that police officer just, like he was begging, right? He's begging and just pleading, like he knows he's in trouble. He Kazan's got the gun. Everything was going bad, and I love how he pleaded. It's an accident. It's not like, but yeah,
yeah, you
and
don't
then
see that in Star Wars before someone gets shot, right? Like
no, you
you
don't.
see
You
that in
don't.
other movies, like
Mhm.
gangster movies, and they're begging for their lives and they get shot anyways.
Yeah, and
That's
that's what's
crazy.
nice. That they're elevating the matureness of the series, I think, right? And it's
Yeah.
more believable, right? There's consequences. There's all those sort of things that we talk about when we're watching the animated series and stuff like that, right? Here's a show now where we want consequences and a little more not kid friendly. Yeah,
Mhm.
we haven't seen. And again, that showed a lot more of the execution than they did in Rogue One, even, right? Like you saw the guy's body in the sides of the screen, and then the blaster went in, boom, and there's
Yeah,
no doubt that he shot the guy in the
Yeah.
head.
You know
right.
what, Todd? I think you brought up like a lot of really good points. First, I 100% agree with you. The first 2 episodes for me, like after that opening scene when they kick things off, I was like, okay, it is a slow burn. It's pretty slow. And if they didn't release the 3rd episode, I think there would have been a lot of disappointed fans. And
Mhm.
after my first watch, so I had a bit of time before I watched the 3rd episode, I was kind of disappointed in the randomness. Like after it's like, okay, he gets in this bar fight. Okay, we see this guy who wants to avenge the death. Cyril Karn wants to avenge the death of these security guards who turns out were kind of bums anyways. And we have this guy who's, this veteran, the seasoned vet who's been in the corp for a long time, just wants to shove it under this table. And we see this idealistic guy who just wants to get back at him. And after my initial watch, I was like, isn't this so random? Like, we don't really see really how the Empire plays in. We don't really see a lot of the rebellion yet. And then I thought about it further. And I think, Todd, you were bang on, is that it's the consequences. And it's something we haven't seen before. And I think that when I latched onto that idea, it made me love the episodes even more, is because in a lot of the series, like things in a lot of the cartoon series, especially, things sort of turn out good, right? They,
Mhm.
the good
Mhm.
guy, it turns out good. But this is an example of, a random bad encounter in a bar leads to 2 guys dead. And now we have serious consequences for your actions that span a galactic district. And I
Mhm.
thought that was a really cool concept. And now he's scrambling, right? He's on the run.
Yeah, see, so I want
Definitely.
like one thing I really thought was
Definitely.
like interesting from the previews we talked about, like they showed Empire, they showed Empire, showed Empire. So halfway through the second episode, I'm going, where's the freaking Empire, right? I'm going, where are they? But then that scene where the young police officer, I'm my duty, who's
Cyril.
modified his
Yeah.
uniform because he's so into it, right? And then his acting supervisor says, wash it out, it is an accident, do this report. And what did he say? Because we don't want the Empire involved.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
goes, okay. And then I went, okay, well. Then all of a sudden, boom, you know what? I want to, I want to get these guys. So this is again consequences, right? So as we, Bill, I don't want to give too much weight going to episode 3, but obviously his consequences, his mission was to take down this murderer scum who killed our fellow police officers, and obviously now it's going to draw the attention of the Empire, which is, I'm pretty sure now we're going to have Empire coming in. This is
That's
a
what we seen
perfect
in the
segue,
trailer, right?
right? And that's where I thought the second episode really started picking up. I went, ooh, this is how the Empire is going to come in. Because as soon as he said, we don't want, can't remember exact wording, but he basically said, we don't want the Empire looking into this because,
Bring attention.
we're
Yeah.
better off without the Empire being here. Now, this little jerk who, righteous guy who's trying to, get the bad guy is now going to cause pain for everyone.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of, where is he? I found that, to me, probably one of the, if not the most interesting character in the 3 episodes was that guy, was Cyril.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. I
Interesting.
loved him. Not because I
Yeah.
liked his character, because he's such a weasel. And I thought he was a weasel. You love to hate him, and you're looking for, you need a good villain. We talk about this all the time. You need a good villain. You need a good villain. You need a good villain. He right away became the good villain, right? Because Cassian's not a great guy himself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He's not a good guy.
He's been in prison already.
Right, so he's not a good guy. You need somebody to cheer for. We know who he is because of Rogue One.
Right.
But you want to establish. So they established somebody worse than him, sort of thing. I thought I just loved how, but his character had so many shifts in those 2 episodes.
Amazing.
He's never really experienced being in a situation us ever seeing being in action before, right?
Right.
You see his character change when things started going south because he's not experienced, right? And that's why I thought was such a great change and how fast. And by the end of episode 3, you see his face, he's freaking out.
Well, the thing with this character, Cyril, and it's funny, the picture, I listed this picture as the suck up guy.
Yeah.
But he's interesting in so many ways, right? When you first see him, he's all like this, right? His boss has I think his feet up on the table at one point, and he's very casual and doesn't care. And he's like, head up, very proud, sir. This is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. So he's very, you were saying, he's idealistic about what the job entails. And you could tell that he's been like this to get to where he is now. He's like deputy inspector or something, right? So he's by the book, this and that. So he puts on a front. But then there's the times when he's going to go see that guy in the radar room, the control room, and he's standing outside the door and he's nervous. And like guys are walking by, he's like, hey, is everything okay? And they're kind of laughing and he's all nervous. Because I think that he puts up this front. So he's really complex in this series so far. So he puts up this front, like, this is what I want. There's rules and there's law and there's order. But he's nervous, he's inexperienced. And so he's psyching himself up to go into the room. But then when he's talking to the person, he's firm and a dick and all this kind of stuff. And it's the same. The funniest part was when they're on the drop ship going to go do that raid.
Yes.
And the sergeant, who I love this guy. He's like discount fat bastard, or like evil Chris Farley. I love him. Of course, stereotype as a Scottish guy drinking from a flask, but we'll get into that later. He gives that great speech and he's like, Captain, or whatever.
A few words, inspiring words.
Yeah.
And I mentioned someone had pointed this out in another review. They're like, if you listen to him, everything he's saying is really great stuff. He's just not saying it well. Like he's not showing the confidence. And it's so funny. The guys, the other primas are all like looking at each other. And if you look at that group, they are clearly local cops, right? Because they're like all out of shape. They're disheveled. They're not really. So it's funny seeing them come off the ship. Makes more sense now when you see them in the trailer. To now, you're like, oh, that's why they all look that way. So his character has gone everywhere. Even when he was like at the end when it exploded, like the vehicle exploded, Cassian gets away, blah blah blah, and he's standing there. It's kind of a mix. It's like he's realizing the realities of how crazy this all is. He's enjoying it. He's scared. It's weird. I didn't know how to read him at the end.
Well, I think he thinks he's in trouble because he
He
directly did not follow a command given by a superior officer, and I think he thinks he's in trouble now.
But I think he's the redemption. He's the redemption story. He's the redemption story. Maybe
he's going to die.
Well, he's probably going to die. But if he doesn't get killed by the Empire when they come,
well, I think
because of what he caused, he's the redemption story where he might be that officer doing the bad things. Are we the baddies? Who realizes and maybe starts helping whatever resistance is starting. And
I don't remember seeing him much in the trailers. I don't remember seeing much at all in the trailers. Right?
I thought the trailer.
I went, where'd he come from? You know what I'm saying? I thought the first scene was it, and then there's more of them. Okay, I don't remember him at all in the trailer. I remember the blonde female. I don't know who the actress is, but I know that face. I know that voice. but I don't know his voice. I don't think he's going to make it.
I think.
Yeah, I thought
we'll, like,
overall he
four.
did a phenomenal acting
Oh,
job in the
that's-
first 3
that's-
episodes. So like
Yeah,
He's
that,
so-
you know,
speech.
that idealistic rookie that comes in and like, you know, you've all been there in a workplace and you've been there for a while and you see this rookie who comes in, you know, full of enthusiasm and all of these ideals and proud, and we're going to do this. We stand for this. We got to do our jobs. You know, we need to be proud of where we are. We need to stand up for those who've been wronged. But of course, the rookie who's never actually been in the field, boots on the ground, and cut his teeth. And then we see him get to lead his first squad, and all of a sudden he disobeys a direct order out of his ideals, and it blows up in his face. And you could tell he's in utter shock. Like
Oh yeah.
his transition from episode 1 to 3 of, you know, that all of these ideals and confidence, you know, the front for confidence maybe, and then stuttering on the ship to get his inspirational speech out. And, you know, as soon as he gets his first taste of action, he's shifty. He doesn't really know what to do, where to go, you know, how to give orders. And then it blows up in his face and he's just in shock. He doesn't know how to cope.
And that's why I thought the performance was fantastic, because he didn't say lots during when the heat was going up. His face said, his eyes said so much, which I thought that when we talk about performance, like we talk about that speech, that was an amazing performance in the speech.
Yeah, it's very
Like, you
funny.
know, like it was like like I felt awkward watching the guy. It's like watching Michael Scott, right, from The Office doing one of his speeches, right? It was so bad. You know what I'm saying? But so good. And just the look, the panic, the face, the tears, that, you know, he was just so far out of his element when the crap went down. When it wasn't a clear cut snatch and grab, and then it went, you know, he just panicked, and I just love how the character fell apart.
Yeah.
Like
to have him be the one that gets, you know, kidnapped too is perfect.
Oh, absolutely, right. Like the Scottish guy, you know, the second in command. You know, the thing is, you know, he needed to find that like-minded person that had that the gruffy guy, right? You know, to go along with him. That's what really inspired him to keep going too, right? It just loved how it went.
But he could back it up.
He could back it up. He could back it up. Again, he was looking for that voice. He found that voice. Therefore, you know, I am doing the right thing. I am right. My supervisor, our commander's wrong. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. Because his pride and everything else is involved, right?
It was in that first meeting, right?
Yeah.
He kind of stroked his pride and was like, yeah, you're the same as me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Did you guys notice the acting in the whole this series so far has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, every actor and actress involved has absolutely been crushing it.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that because, Adam, like you were saying earlier, that there's kind of stories everywhere. It kind of goes back and forth. I kind of thought maybe I broke it down to 3 different perspectives, that at least in these first 3 episodes that they were going for. So you had the Prima, the police, you had the workers, and then you had like Andor stuff, kind of like the underworld stuff. And it just kind of showed you kind of where, say, a planet like this on, I don't even know where they are, Outer Rim, probably.
Did they say it was mid-rim?
I know that where, maybe it was where, anyways, it kind of shows how the Empire has affected, right, these places that we don't get to see, right? Because in other Star Wars shows, we see, you know, Tatooine, we see Coruscant, we see, you know, these certain things that we're used to seeing, but now you're seeing like a world that their job is like a plant, right? It's almost like a car factory, and they're tearing things up, and it's like, so it's factory workers, right? So you've got hardworking people, and then, you know, how's the Empire affecting them? Well, they don't look like they're in great shape, right? They're just, you know, work. And it's going to be worse for them probably in the coming episodes. You know, we can see from the trailer, right? And then you have Andor's underworld stuff, and then of course the small time kind of like sector police, right? So that's what I kind of it was kind of interesting, but like you said, it was all over the place. But those were, in my opinion, the 3 stories that were going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think you bring up a really, really cool point that I didn't actually consider until now. and that opening little video you showed too, and that this is a really cool look at the rebellion too. Like whenever you see the rebellion in Star Wars, it's like a semi-organized group that know they have like this evil empire that we're going after. They're oppressing us. We need to take them down. Or in the other extreme cases, in the Rise of Skywalker, when it's like, oh, we need to send a call out for everybody, and everybody comes and helps save the day. But this is like, our planet has a good homeostasis. We have a good thing going. Everybody, knows their role, whether that's, scavenging for parts or working on the plant or looking after ships. We just don't want the damn police getting involved.
Mhm.
So it's like all of these individuals looking out for each other and just like, screw those guys. They're coming after one of our own. Screw those guys. Not like an organized rebellion. It's just, a bunch of people looking out for each other. I thought that was a cool take on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
One of the things that I really appreciate that they did in this series, I could be wrong, is that kind of in a sci-fi show, the realistic characters that they have in the show, like it seems like they're all like normal people, even the heroes, like Andor, right? Like you were saying, the consequences, Todd. Like he does kill those two primas, but it wasn't like this epic kung fu jump battle and everything. It was kind of like it was semi sloppy.
Panic, yeah.
Yeah, when all the stuff starts going south and the primas are like going after the civilians. I mean, those guys, as goofy as they were, or like not solid, it wasn't this whole like attack of people. Like the one scene where what was her name? Bix. It's like Andor's possible ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
She gets caught and she's against the wall. I thought for sure there was going to be like that scene from Obi-Wan where she starts slapping the stormtrooper helmets and knocking them out. I thought she was going to take out all the guards in front of her, all the primas, and take off. But no,
that would
she didn't. And because it's very realistic. Then they handcuff her to a pole or something, and she's done.
And she's nothing special, right? So she shouldn't be able to do that, right? There's nothing established her being special or combat skill or anything, right? So again, I like that part. And her dick boyfriend gets shot and falls down the stairs, and again, there's a lot of consequences these first 3 episodes, right? Like
I thought she killed it too.
Yeah,
like her acting, unbelievable. Like the whole, these back deals and back alleys, and she's trying to help out a friend who's possibly an ex-boyfriend, which makes her current sort of secret boyfriend jealous, and then he calls the police, and then again, like you said, Todd, consequences for his actions in the worst possible way.
Right.
Like,
now, I'm not saying I don't like the epic Han Solo, Luke Skywalker hero, but Rogue One was very different, and it's what I liked it. It was like a war movie, and this is very different because Andor, as much as he is one of the heroes, I mean him and Luthen, the contact that's obviously with some kind of resistance that was recruiting him, that wasn't smooth. That whole scene in the warehouse, that wasn't. He barely made it out. He lost that little kind of the navigation device that the Empire uses. That's very valuable. Things like this, and I just think that the heroes are struggling just like the heroes did here, like the ones that were in the resistance before, like the World War I or World War II, things like this. And I really appreciate that because I was kind of getting tired of that one person taking out 6 people like by slapping them in the helmets or something. It was just like, this was kind of refreshing. Although, you know what I mean? Like all the episodes, except for this one, were slow burns. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think Luthen adds a really cool element too, in that like we see this sort of master puppeteer behind the scenes, but that interaction with the exchange where Cassian thinks, he has his ticket out of here and selling this part where he risked his life to get. And I think that's another cool example of like the different like socioeconomic strata, and we have this wealthy planner who's like, just leave the part, whatever, just leave it, we'll get out of here. And he has this backup plan, and he's an experienced spy veteran. Always plan your exit when you go in there. And then we have Cassian who's like, no, I need this. this is my ticket out of here. Like without this, this is 40,000 credits or whatever it is. Like I risk my life for this. I need to go back and get it. And he sort of screws the plan up. So again, like consequences, right? Like we have these two different people. We have this, experienced rebel or spy, and we have this guy who just needs to lay low for a while because his life depends on it. I thought that was a really cool dynamic.
Yeah, and the fact that it even hints that this new guy, this veteran guy in the spy industry, like his plans, his ideas, his goal, his vision is bigger than that little box, right? You know what I'm saying? It's much like that's nothing
I
compared
don't
to
think
what
he was interested in it.
exactly. He was trying, like what he wanted to know more. What he wanted to know more is how did you get this? That's what he wanted to know. Or you just walk, I just walk right in.
He was there for Andor and not the box.
Exactly. He was not there for the box at all. Like,
Yeah.
he got it. So how did you, he asked, how did you get it? That's all he wanted to know. Okay, the box is important. This guy is because he can get things done, obviously, right? So there's a really nice dynamic thing that came up. And like you said, Steve, I really liked how nothing's clean, everything was sloppy. And that's what really makes movies good. Like I found with the sequel trilogy is, especially by Rise of Skywalker, everything just happened because of the good guys. So conveniently, right? Like this is much better when there's trouble. Like Die Hard 1, 2, and 3 are really good because John McClane, didn't seem like a superhero. By Die Hard 5, you don't think John McClane's gonna get hurt at all, and just takes away that kind of intensity, right? So here it's it's everybody's expendable. Everybody, there's consequences. We know Andor's not going to die, but at the same time, you have to feel like he's in trouble. And I thought they did a really good job.
Do you know
of
who
that.
I didn't like?
Yeah.
Do you know who I didn't like?
Who?
I didn't like B2, the droid.
You
What?
stop with the
I
black.
like-
He
no, no.
could be one of the best droids in Star Wars. You stop that.
Agreed.
Take that back
I
right
liked
now,
him
Steve.
so
He's
good.
not.
I thought that's one thing I wanted to say was I liked that family droid. I thought he was awesome.
The droid is
He
fine,
has to go
and I
recharge
like
and
the
can't
fact
tell a
that he's
lie.
there. I like that he's there. I wasn't keen on the voice actor. I thought it was almost just normal. It was very little change to the voice. Like I know even with C-3PO, it's like a normal voice, but it was kind of like droidy. This one here, he was just talking like, and then this, and then that, and it sounded so like they just gave a mic to the actor and said, "We need him to say these lines." So he's like, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. There was no character to it.
I thought it was amazing, but the fact that it's so old, so beat up, and so low on power, it just had no energy to change its voice. It was just like,
Yeah.
I'm just barely existing.
But
That's
it
why I thought
sounded
was so
normal.
amazing about it.
It sounded like, you know what it reminded me? It reminded me of me doing a stormtrooper voice for Todd's video. That's what it reminded me.
It was like, it's like Alexa, except it has no energy and no pop to it. It's like Google talking back. It's like Siri talking back to you. It's just monotone and had no emotion.
I love droids.
I
I love
loved
them
it.
all, but I loved them. But sometimes there were certain times where it was great, the voicing, and then sometimes I was like, this sounded, because it was almost like the skipping voice and you know what he did one scene? He went bit. What does that sound like, Todd?
Twiggy from
Buck Rogers.
Adam, I'm trying to find the cancel Steve button. I can't find the cancel Steve button.
Cancel.
I'm trying to
I
cancel
thought the
Steve.
stutter was hilarious. He's like this beat up old family droid. He always needs to recharge. He's got a stutter.
Yes.
He doesn't even have enough power to tell a lie. Like
Exactly.
That is
That's what I love about it. Steve, wrong. Just wrong. You're ruining Star Wars, Steve.
Just a little bit. The voice acting. Some of it was great. I just, maybe I have to. I love the droid. As soon as I saw him, I thought it was cool. He's boxy. He looked like
he gets peed on right in the opening, like right in his introduction. He gets peed on by one of those wild dog alien
That's
things.
something you've never seen in Star Wars either. You've never seen anything get peed on before in Star Wars.
There's no bathrooms in Star Wars. Hey, anyone in the chat that's listening to us now, if you disagree with me, you could say it in the chat right now. That
yes, please.
And my name is Trooper Todd, so you say Trooper Todd's a jerk, and for not liking.
Trooper Todd likes the droid. Darth Slobo likes the droid. Steven hates the droid.
I like the droid. I'm not fond of the voice acting.
B2.
I
will say though, another thing we talked about before, consequences for your actions, and Endor being sloppy. Like he's not this seasoned rebel spy, and that the comms device. I thought that was really cool too. Like he just wanted a way to stay in contact with his mother. I forget her name now. I have it written down here.
Harry
Marva.
Potter's aunt. Harry
Potter's aunt. Yeah.
Aunt
With
Petunia.
Marva.
Her name is
Aunt
Marva
Petunia.
Andor. Ah,
And
Aunt
this
Petunia.
seemingly insignificant thing, this comm device, all of a sudden gives these police a direct link to him, and a mistake he didn't even know he made. Right? I thought that was cool too, and something I wouldn't think about too. Like you see comms devices all the time in Star Wars, especially in New Hope. Right? They're in the trash compactor, and he's trying to speak with the C-3PO and R2, and they use comms devices everywhere. And to see that there's an actual downside to having a comms device, that was cool.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I think now's a really good time because we talked about, you brought something that you didn't care for. There's another thing I know you didn't care about in this series, in the first 3 episodes. We should talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. One thing, and I know that Todd and I have talked about this for sure. One of the things I don't like in my Star Wars universe is our world in the Star Wars universe. Like in episode 8 of the movies, Poe making a mom joke. I was like, okay, it's kind of funny, but it's a mom joke. Isn't that what's in our world? And it was when this guy, during the battle in episode 3, when the ship blows up behind them and they're surrounded, and what does he say? Shit.
You did.
That's an our world swear. Now, the argument here is like, it's sci-fi. It's fantasy world. Can't they make up any word could be a swear?
Anti-crap. They could have said anything. Yeah.
Anything. Because the example I gave to you guys offline was Obi-Wan said blast all the time. Blast instead of shit or damn. It was blast when something was not going his way. And we were saying, Todd, Battlestar Galactica on TV, in the late 70s, when they said, 80s, frack, that was the swear. And then you were saying in Lobo
in the DC Comics, he always says frag.
Frag,
right?
So, but I'm so hoping they don't now drop, 3 episodes later, they start dropping F-bombs like they did in the Star Trek, the Picard series. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe it's minor. It didn't destroy the series for me, but like keep this world out of Star Wars. Think of a different swear word.
You know what I actually have a bigger issue with? If you're going to go that route, like if you're going to take that stance, Steve, see, I actually didn't mind the shit at all. It was so much so that I don't even remember hearing it the first time, the first watch, until it made such news. If you're going to go that route, though, I would go against calling the human species humans in Star Wars, because that's what they refer to them. Cassian, a human male from Canary, right? And that's another label from our world that I don't think should be used, especially with aliens. You have all these different species. Why are humans why do they get the same name?
Right? Well, I mean, if they're in the same universe, so if it's in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it's still in our galaxy. So could we not be just the same species on different sides of the world? Like we're humans. I don't know where that would come from.
Can we not have the same swear words?
Well, I think that would be easier to not do than say humans. You know what I mean? Like, don't say, boobies or shit or, damn or things like this, because they've never done that in any of the movies.
Steve.
See, I'm with Steve. Like, for Steve to say, he said it took him out of the episode. I didn't find it took me out of the episode, but I went, I don't, I agree with Steve when it comes to, like, I think I'd rather hear something else, like some other kind of, like blast.
Make anything up. Blast.
Make anything up. Like Malarkey, McClunkey or whatever.
McClunky, yes.
Whatever Greedo said before he got shot, right?
What
whatever,
is Zay, or what is what is the alien saying? Rebels all the time. Oh, Carabast. That's his thing.
Absolutely, right. It's just how you deliver, right? Like, it could be anything, right? Nerf herder, like when they said nerf herder, what's a nerf herder? You know, it's obviously
It
it's
was
a
some
cuss
kind of
word.
an
It's,
insult,
it's,
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's an insult, right? You know, it could be
Yeah.
anything.
It didn't ruin the episode for me, but it made me go, what?
Yeah, but it brought you out. Like for me, one thing that brings me out that's been happened in Obi-Wan. I complained about when it happened in Obi-Wan, and it happened in this one too. Episode 1, after Cassian kills kills those 2 guards. What's he do? He jumps in a spaceship, and it goes from landing to gone like so fast.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that all of a sudden? Every movie, the ships,
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon starts off slow, choo choo choo. They're shooting out. They go, you know, Slave 1 starts off slow. They're shooting at it. You know, it goes. The bigger the ship, the slower it should go. But it shouldn't go like this. To me, it
Take
takes me
off
out because it's not physically doesn't make any sense. And so it like it happened in Obi-Wan when, you know, Darth Vader's holding the ship and the other one just flies away so fast. It just makes no physical sense. I know it's science fiction, but it's never happened in any other movies. You know, why is it happening now? Makes no sense. The Millennium Falcon can't go that fast. How come these ships can go that fast? Makes no
I
sense.
agree with you there, Todd. I agree with you.
It just looks. Even when you're watching it, it doesn't make sense. Like when you watch it just looks fake because it shouldn't go that fast. Like when you watch it, if you're watching Godzilla movie, Godzilla, even though he's huge, everything looks slow. The bigger you are, the slower it should go. When it goes, it just makes no sense. It doesn't look like real. It's not a fly that can go fast. It's a big ship. Even though it's a one-seater, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't go that fast. It just sucks me out of it right away. Sorry, that's my rant.
I got to hop off here right away, but one thing I want to say before I
yes.
go that I really liked was that in the flashback, I love the flashbacks, by the way, to see the ship crash and all of those patches of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, I thought that was super cool. And that we see like a pre-Clone Wars patch. Okay, it wasn't the Empire that crashed. They said it was, you know, an
Empire mining
Imperial
site.
mining site, but it was pre-Empire. You know, the patches of the people were the separatist patches essentially.
Right.
So the Republic may be on their way. Who knows? I thought that was a really cool little nugget that they put in there.
Yeah, explains that where the dead bodies were, where we thought were dead bodies, or who killed what in the trailer. So
trailers.
Yeah,
They weren't
I thought that was
totally
very cool. I'm done with the flashbacks. After I think that going forward, like, okay, so Andor is not, I wouldn't say rescued from that planet, but, you know, taken from that planet, and now he's where he is. So we know sort of his origin.
But his sister's got to show up somewhere. There's got to be more
Yeah.
story to it.
Yeah,
with the
but there's not flashbacks though. There shouldn't be any more flashbacks because now it's forward. He's trying to find his sister, I think. Right?
I love the
Unless they look
flashbacks.
back.
I thought it was really cool parallels.
I thought I agree with Adam there too.
And to see
this is the best one so
should be
far. We're all like not on the
episode.
same
Yeah,
page.
it should be every
to
episode.
see like this band of kids, and in my mind, it was like, okay, there's no adults there. I just assumed that, you know, the adults. I know there's a lot of theories, but I assumed the adults died in the mining incident, right? If they said everyone died, so we have these kids like Lord of the Flies, right? Like almost like reminded me of those, you know, those old anthropological studies on the Amazonian tribes uncontacted, right? The similar idea. And then you're right, it's not Andor wasn't necessarily, or yes, Cassian and Cassa at that point wasn't necessarily saved. That's like a huge gray area, and that he didn't want to be taken. But given the circumstances, she didn't want him to be killed. So there's that weird, that weird circumstance that they found themselves in, where Cassian or Cassa at that point ended up off planet. But I really love the flashbacks.
Maybe the parents were taken, captured by the Empire, and used as slaves.
Probably
the Republic, maybe, or the Separatists,
or whoever's doing the mining site, right? The mining site, like maybe just took them as, because they are primitive, obviously, right? So maybe they just took them as slaves. That's why they're all about. And then the kids fled, whatever. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But anyway, you know, obviously, I think there has to be more flashbacks to establish the sister, and maybe them going back trying to find us. Just otherwise, it's kind of random. That how does he know his sister's alive?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you boys have a good discussion. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna tune in later and watch what you guys talked about and take notes and grill you later, Steve.
Yeah, we're gonna talk bad about you when you leave.
Perfect. Okay, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
See you, Adam. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. So
Oh, it's
yeah,
always good to have Adam around, man. I just love what
that's
he
so
brings to
funny.
the table and how he looks. But this has been a fun one because the fact that usually we always see eye to eye on most stuff, but this is the most controversial one
Right.
where we don't always see eye to eye. It's been a fun one.
Do you know what's thing about cliches? I brought that up. You know, when the sergeant, when they're all getting ready to ambush Cassian when he's coming around and he's on the ledge and he's drinking from a flask,
Yeah,
and then the boyfriend of Blix
yeah,
or Bix, he's like a totally nice guy, totally absolute nice guy, or so it seems, right? They're dating, it seems. He's a nice guy looking out for her, and then I guess he's sort of getting jealous, but it isn't the first time that Cassian's been around, so I thought it was weird. So then it's that cliche, him walking around with the flask, drinking. Then all of a sudden he's the jerk boyfriend, and then he's gonna go rat on them. I just thought it was too quick. I knew
yeah.
they were
No,
trying to get to a place.
yeah. I thought they did a good job setting it up. But I agree with you, Steve. It is a little. Like, it is a cliche, right? Is oh, here's a jealous boyfriend ratting out the other guy. It's been done many times, and it's done like within a episode and a half, right? So
Mhm.
I agree with you 100% there for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know how else they're going to get around it, sort of thing. They don't want to make it last two more episodes. I think they want to progress the story. But yeah,
I
it would be
know.
nice to have some other kind of creative way to handle that. But
Right. I mean, he didn't have to be a. Oh, and they got a little sexy there during the episode, right? When she doesn't
that's
see them,
that I must say that was the biggest sex scene in Star Wars history
I
right
was
there.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, go around.
they
Yeah, you got a little
they said it
racy
was
there.
PG-14, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember that when we were 14, but
well, we were talking about off camera before, like through messaging, and the fact that they're pushing the PG-14. I
yeah,
think.
yeah. Which is fine because if it holds like the whole war movie feel like Rogue One did, I mean it's got to be nasty. And I mean the first scene of Andor killing the Primas there,
Well, I
that was
think when
setting it up.
I think when the Empire comes to town, the bells will be going off again. I like the bell communication sort of thing, and I like how was the aunt and then the mother talking says the bells are when it stops. That's when something's going to happen. And
Something's
all the
gonna
boom.
happen.
I love how that built up, and then boom, it stopped. And it's just that quiet. It was so. It just had a good
And they were
feeling to it.
panicking, right? So
Yeah,
when the Empire comes, like we've seen scenes that it looks like the planet's riding, and they are not going to get away with what they did uh with those
the Keystone
local
Cops.
guys, right?
The
Yeah.
Keystone Cops. Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be brutal. Like those stormtroopers marching in, it's game over. Like they're not gonna have these scared guys running through the streets. You could bang all the gongs you want. They're just gonna bring in walkers and devastate the entire area.
Well, that's going to be the big difference, right? Like these guys, they're respected, sort of thing. People are afraid of them, but they're not afraid of them. They can stand up. There's a small group, what are they going to do, right? They're small in numbers, right? They had what 12, maybe. Let's say they had 24 people. That's still
Right.
a very small number. There's going to be hundreds of stormtroopers coming that don't care. That
Yeah.
will they'll rather just wipe you out than actually deal with you at all, right? Like
They're
it's going
armored,
to.
they're trained, they have equipment.
Yeah, and they're not bumbling idiots who they drink too much blue milk. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna
It's the green milk you gotta worry about.
the green milk, yes, right. So yeah, I just think that I thought they did. I see why it's 3 episodes, because they needed the 3 episodes to get you hooked. Because like I said, my first episode one, hope it gets better. Episode
Mhm.
two, I like the introduction of the cop. I like how he's defying his superior. I like that interaction. It's like, okay, then when episode three came in, I just that fall of that character. There's so many changes he went through. This really okay. I'm excited now. Like now the Empire's gonna come in. They're gonna take notice, and so yeah, it left me wanting more, which is good. What they want to do is create an opportunity to make you want more. So good on them.
Yeah. I really hope that Cyril lives. I hope he doesn't get killed
And he
when
might.
the Empire shows
He
up,
might. He might. I think that who knows. I hope he doesn't either because I really enjoyed him. So
the character, and
yeah,
the sergeant guy, the
yeah.
Shrek with
Shrek.
the Shrek with a flask, shorter Shrek. Um, Yeah,
And why a
it's
flag? See, that's really Earth-like too. But I imagine that would happen there too. I
yeah,
didn't
you would
mind it
have
so
your
much, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
very
It's nothing that ruined it for me. I just thought because you never seen, and I know it's that whole you've never seen it in Star Wars, so it should never happen. That's not what I'm saying, but it's just it seemed unnecessary. But I guess they're trying to establish what kind of people they are. I guess
yeah, possibly.
he's like a hardened sergeant. And they're always you remember the war movies. I'm
Yeah,
surprised he didn't have a cigar at the side of his mouth, but I thought he was a great character because he was just like he was wrong in so many ways, but at least he could back it up better than Cyril, which
yeah,
he was awkward and funny most of the time, and I just felt myself laughing. But it
yeah.
was great. But the acting, the characters, the direction on it's going, as we got over that slow hump, it's looking, if they can keep this up, and
And so, how many episodes is it going to be again? Is it 13 or
12
12? 12.
episodes.
So,
So
yeah, we got a long ways to go. So, you want to have appropriate pacing all the way through, and again, I think they're doing a good job, and there's lots of characters to come, I think, and
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So next episode is tomorrow. So we'll have a long time to think about that. It'll be one episode, so that'll be interesting. So hopefully it's got to be something special to hold us all for a week after we just got 2 or 3 episodes.
Well, that's one thing we're talking about Disney, and I think I talked to you about the She-Hulk series, and then I got my wife watching the She-Hulk series.
Right.
And the one thing my wife says after every episode, "Oh, it's so short. What's going to happen next?" Like, so they're doing such a good job. So Andor needs to do the same thing. Is you make sure they leave you wanting more, right? So that they want you want it to be a topic around the water cooler the next day at work, right? So they need to step up their
Yeah.
game and keep it going.
Yeah, I totally hear you. So that was Andor. That was great. It was good to have everyone here today. It was great. We're just missing Jen and Jason, and
Yeah, hopefully Jen and Jason are okay with that Mr. Ian hurricane coming their way.
yeah,
All the best,
exactly.
guys.
So that's it for tonight. Make sure you follow us on our social media. Go to StarWarsReporter.com for all the latest news. And thanks a lot, Todd. We'll see you again.
Steve.